Welcome to FSHD Straight Talk, the podcast where we dive deep into living with FSHD. I'm your host, Tim Hollenback, and I'm on the journey with you. Having FSHD, I understand the challenges it brings to patients and their families. We're in this together, and this podcast is a space where we swap stories, share advice, and talk to experts to get the latest news. There's plenty to say about living with FSH muscular dystrophy, so let's get straight to it. Welcome to World FSHD Day on this special day celebrating what is World FSHD Day. This is a day that we need to be recognizing this disease in a way how to attack it as a community. I am Tim Hollenback. I am the host of FSHD Straight Talk, and today we have a multitude of special episodes from guests around the world as we could book them. From Spain, Brazil, Canada, and the United States, to name a few. These interviews are impactful, in some cases maybe emotional, in other cases educational. And if anything, it should give you a takeaway of feeling empowered and motivated to move forward in this community to help fight this disease. This day recognizes that our fight, even though we have made some headway, those that know the big announcement of the Fortitude Phase 1-2 clinical trial, that there's promising hope out of Avidity Biosciences as they release their information as of June 12th. Terms in that report, unprecedented and consistent reductions in DUX4 activity. That's pretty promising. We can't get there if we don't do days like this. Bringing communities together, making sure that we have campaigns to raise money, making sure that our small circles of friends and people on social media know, and then hopefully it spreads. So it's more of a common thing, considering it's the most common form of muscular dystrophy, and no one knows about it. And that's one of the main questions I ask to our guests throughout today, is what do you wish people knew more about FSHD? The other question is that I asked some, do you believe that FSHD is out there more than we know? Every answer is yes on that question. Sorry, spoiler. So within the day, I want you to have this expectation of feeling inspired, feeling that, yes, we have work to do, but there's been so much work that has been done and so much progress that has been done. And days like this help that progress. I want you to feel inspired to keep moving forward. I want you to feel empowered with the education that you can find within the sciences. It's out there on FSHDsociety.org. I want you to feel connected with the people from around the world, knowing that this day is shared by all. We have to have, in order to equal our goal, in order to finish any goal, if it's an athlete, a student, or hell, even a project you're doing around the house, right? You have to have commitment and consistency. If you're not committed to the process, you will not will not reach your goal. If you do not have consistency in your work, consistent, repetitive behavior, nonstop attitude towards it, you will not reach your goal. You need the two. You need them together. And I think throughout the day, you're going to see that there is that commitment. There is that consistency as we grow our community. And lastly, engagement, involvement, making sure that we're all doing our part, empowering others that maybe are on the brink, they're not really sure they should help or not. I hope this day kind of empowers you to see that from around the world, everyone's doing what they can in their corner of it to change this disease into something that is treatable at the least. And with the things that we're seeing coming through just in this month alone of all the hard work that's been done over these years, that we may be getting there closer and closer. And that hope should still be alive, if not stronger than it was even a year ago of where we are today. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of this day. Enjoy the interviews. We'll sum it up at the end, but also connect too with me here at the podcast at FSHD Radio at FSHDsociety.org. That's the best way to get a hold of me if you would like to be a guest on the show or have ideas we could talk about. I want to hear from you. The Straight Talk program is done great. I think people love the format. I know I do. The connectivity, getting right to patients, family members, etc. That's the heart of this show. We need to get people that are struggling with this disease on this platform to share their story to inspire others. You want science and things? Yeah, that'll be here too. But there's other podcasts that kind of handle that side of it. This is about the people. So enjoy today. Thank you for being a part of this program. And thanks for being part of World FSHD Day. Welcome to World FSHD Day, celebrating the day here on the 20th of June, 2024. Another year is upon us as we're recognizing what those with FSHD and in the community of FSHD are doing on this day. So we bring in our representative all the way from Spain. It's Ricardo, FSHD Spain. How are you doing, sir? Good to see you again.
I'm doing very well, Tim. Perfectly. No complaints. Life is good.
That's
no
beautiful.
matter this disease or any other one, we need to take the most out of it. That's a gift. So
wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that's all we needed. There you go. No, I mean that is a phenomenal attitude. I appreciate that. And before we hit the record button, we both said to each other, "Mike, I do remember you from Orlando where we met personally. It was one of my, and you might not believe this or not, Ricardo. That's fine, but it was one of my favorite interviews. It was very genuine. It was a good conversation that we had. I thought it was fun. So, and I have this. Yeah, I've always had this. Vibe about you from the time we met then and the time that we're talking now. And you just proved my sense of you, that positive nature. How hard is it though in times that are not so great, maybe when the disease rears its ugly head a little more obvious in a certain part of your day? How do you stay positive?
Well, I have to admit that it is easy for me. I'm not nearly, half much affected like as many other people that I know are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm blessed with the fact that I have no pain yet, right? That's an important thing that probably makes life totally different, whether you need to endure pain day after day or not, as it is in my case. I'm limited in the way my body functions, but since day one, I always tried to focus on what I can do, not what I cannot, right? But this is the same thing all along life, right? You buy your first car and maybe it's a perfect car for you, you're young, but you are already looking at better cars that you can't afford.
Yeah.
Or you have a house and then maybe that's human nature, right? We want a bigger house and you have a decent job, but you want to improve. And that's probably how humanity has always done that. But focusing on what you miss, I wouldn't say it makes your life miserable. It's a good driver for improvement. But in our case, focusing on the fact that I cannot jump or run or walk fast won't bring me anything but, feeling sorry for myself. I focus on what I can do. What I cannot do, I don't spend any time moaning about that. It's just focusing on what I can do, enjoying life. I don't need to have strong and big muscles to enjoy life. That is what I try to apply to myself, right? That is probably the best thing I can do. To me, I'm probably each person has different drivers and way of managing this disease mentally, but I don't let this disease get me down. Of course, it's easy to say that when you're not severely impacted. I can still walk, I go outside, I go to the gym because I need to keep my body fit. I pay attention to what I eat. Lots of things that we all do or should be doing just to delay the progression of this illness as much as possible. We all know it varies a lot from person to person, from one side of my body to the other. It's very weird. I'm in a kind of a plateau phase. Do you say that? Plateau where nothing happened. I had big jumps in the past. I went from almost being perfect to start suffering, and then 1 or 2 years, all okay. When I got used to that, again, another thing happened to me. And those moments were the most difficult, I remember, right?
Mm.
When you get used to your new normal,
Right.
and then all
Right.
of a sudden, in a matter of 6 months, 1 year, yeah, something that you could
Yes.
do, you
Yeah.
cannot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It can be like that, right? The stair falls, as you kind of mentioned, but it's interesting that you said big jumps. That almost means up, where I'd say stair fall, which means down. Even the way you describe it, Ricardo, is more positive than me. I mean, what's
Well,
that?
I don't know.
Word
I'm
choice.
thinking I'm thinking in a diagram where the
Yeah.
vertical axis is the how would I say the impact on our functions, right? So the
Right.
higher the impact, the less function you have.
Right.
That's how I was describing this in my mind. But I mean I
I
as all
love it.
of us, I mean I love music, I love reading, I love watching, I don't know, trees or the
Yeah.
sky. Uh, Yesterday, the ISS, the space station,
Yeah.
International Space Station, flew
Yeah.
over my house.
What?
And yeah, and I watched that, I don't know how many times in my life.
Oh,
And I still
so
watch
love
this
it.
mesmerized and
Yeah.
celebrate. And whether I have FSHD or not, that doesn't make any change to feel the pleasure that
Mm,
life brings, right? Whether it's
mm,
music or reading or watching, I mean, doing all kind of things. You
yeah.
simply need to focus, and there are lots of things on what you can do, right?
Wow.
That's for sure.
So speaking of what you can do, what are you doing to kind of celebrate, so to speak, the World FSHD Day there in Spain?
That is a very important event. That's a very important day for all of us, for our community worldwide. The very first thing that we do is, believe it or not, we have an annual congress
Oh,
the weekend before the one of the FSHD Society.
okay.
So I'm attending that one. That's our most important event of the year.
Mhm.
That takes, as you
Okay.
probably know, months of preparation, and there are lots of people there um, working hard to prepare this. I have to say, I'm not one of those. So that's why I'm happy. You see, you asked me why? Yeah, because I'm not
You
involved in
enjoy
the
the fruits of
organization.
others'
Yeah.
labor. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that is the most important thing. That will be on June the 7th and the 8th, and we are going to distribute there lots of material that are prepared just having June the 20th on mind. So
Ah,
in addition to our annual congress, which we always try to it to happen around June 20th, in this occasion we couldn't do it because on the 17th, as you know, 17th, oh, sorry, it's 14th, 15th, actually it's 16th and 17th, we're meeting in Denver.
oh, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that weekend was not a good one. That's why we are having this on the previous one. So that is the most important event that we have, and very much linked to June the 20th. In addition to that, we are launching campaigns in social media,
Mm,
like Reels in Instagram, and lots of entries, different entries in the Facebook page of the FSHD Spain
mhm.
Association. And they are all meant to be raising awareness around FSHD. We are going to produce some infographic, I don't know, printed material to again create more awareness about our disease. That will be distributed different places.
Mm.
We are also planning to launch a paid advertisement in the social media as well. That's something we
Okay.
still need to figure out on the budgeting side. Um, Another important point, unfortunately, I would say, or fortunately for them, we know some celebrities in Spain. None of them is affected by the FSHD. We heard about one person not so long ago. We are trying to manage this situation because this person has not fully accepted the
Oh,
situation. But I believe that when this person does it, it might be a change for us, right? Because we don't have any, how would I say, very well-known person suffering from FSHD, but we do have celebrities that help us, right?
okay.
Um, then we're also organizing, aligned with that, we want to give a positive message during our annual Congress. You certainly are aware of
Mhm.
the important things that are ahead of us with the
Yep.
clinical trials. In
Mhm.
Spain, we have a clinical trial for Fulcrum in
Nice.
3 sites. And we recently learned that Arrowhead is planning to run clinical trials in Spain as well.
Nice. Well, that's big
Um,
news.
Yes, and we are trying. We are preparing this. It's not uh, fully said yet. So I don't know if I should be saying this because I cannot. We cannot promise. It's not that I'm disclosing something I shouldn't, but
It's in the
we
works. Yeah, maybe.
exactly. It's in the works. We want to have a webinar with Arrowhead.
Okay.
Ideally on June the 20th. That will be
Oh,
perfect to
that would
our
be perfect.
community so that they learn about the new clinical trial that they will launch. And then another aspect that we are paying lots of attention to is pain management.
Mhm.
So we are relating with a website that it's pain in Spanish. It's like pain.com. It's
Okay.
dolor, DOLOR.com. And we are going to have cross links from their website to ours and vice versa with
Nice.
lots of information and infographics about the FSHD Association and the fact that June the 20th is our day. Then we are going to prepare some photo collages and the orange smile
Orange slice.
that
Yeah.
the orange slice that we are going to distribute everywhere in as many places as we can, thanks to the work of our volunteer community, of course.
Now, what you hit that perfect because that's a perfect segue to my next question, Ricardo, which is perfect. So the campaign of that, right? The orange smile, the smile, even the color orange, right? We're trying to make that synonymous with FSHD so people link the two, it's recognizable. How important do you think that is to our cause to have some type of campaign that we can use?
I think it is very important. In fact, this orange slice is also part of our logotype. The logo of our FSHD
Yep.
Spain organization has this curve in orange, and I believe it's a good thing that people, of course, it's easier said than done, that people link that image to a known disease.
Mm.
As I said before, this is not the best known or the most known rare disease
Right.
for us, right? And we are competing. We are competing for resources. We are competing for attention from everyone, right? And then having something that we can be linked to, building our own public image around diagrams, logotypes. It's like your brand, right? That would be our brand. I think it is important. We need to, that is something, of course, we would like this to happen much faster, but it's something we need to invest year after year. When I say invest, it's our effort and resources in linking FSHD and our campaign to this image.
Totally agree, because we have seen the windfall of finances that come through when you have a successful campaign, the recognition that can give. The more people that blast it out there, the more questions there are. What does that mean? What is that disease about? More opportunities for us to educate. And I think then that does equal getting funds for what we need with all the things you're talking about, the research. With the exciting news that you kind of talked about on the forefront within the rest of 2024 into 2025, Fulcrum is definitely leading the way, it feels like, within the news of that. But you personally, what are you looking forward to as we go into the second part of this year? June 20th kind of marks almost that, right, that halfway point of the year. So what are you looking forward to?
I'm personally not looking for anything for myself. I'm looking for something for the future. I have a son. We don't know whether he carries the gene or the big genetics that is needed to suffer this disease. We don't know yet, and we don't want to. But my aim for him, but for all our community, is the same that we all want, right? We want a cure. Now, we cannot be sitting here doing nothing, just complaining and waiting for something to happen. We need to be active. We need to do something. In my case, I'm representing the FSHD Spain Association in Project Mercury. So Spain is one of the 6 countries in Europe, and we have lots of things to do, right? That is the most important thing that it is ahead of us, at least on my side of the story, because we are trying, of course, to divide the work among the different people in the association. My humble role is this part of Project Mercury. organizing this, coordinating. It doesn't mean that I will be doing all the work. Of course not. I cannot do that. In addition to a family, I also have a job. So
Really?
yeah. You know what? I was joking a couple of times with Mark Stone. I told him,
Oh, yeah.
and I was honest with him. I hope that nobody in my work in my company hears this. I hope not, right? So I can tell them, I'm looking forward. I'm fired from my
Yeah.
company after 33 years working for the same company. I wish
Yeah.
I'm fired so that I can devote all my time to the FSHD
Wow.
Association. But no, I'm still working,
Can't do
so I
that.
need to
Yeah.
wait. Yeah, I still need to. So the thing is, for us, the critical thing, Tim, inside or as part of the framework of Mercury, even before, so it was a perfect match. We are launching a clinical registry,
Right.
So we have a registry of patients, but this is not what we are looking for. This is probably not what pharma is looking for. Definitely is not what Project Mercury is looking for. So thanks to the work of many people, we are ready to launch the registry. It's owned by a public organization, part of the health ministry, so it has all the approval, blessing, compliant with data privacy, aligned with TreatMD standard data set. So it's all correct. Our challenge now is to load this. That's because this registry is fed by neurologists, not by patients. And they are already overloaded, and they are given so many minutes to listen to each patient. So they won't have enough time to record all the natural history of the disease. So we are focused in trying to solve that. Also part of the Project Mercury scope. This is our most important goal for this year, right?
Beautiful.
At least from June the 20th to the next year, June 20th.
Nice. Good goal. Big project. Glad you're a part of it. Seems like I got one of the top people on the job, especially in Spain. Thank you for doing that and managing all the things you do. I may be able to relate to that a little bit, but that's what keeps life interesting, as you talked about earlier, right? Keeping active, doing something about it. So last question for you, Ricardo, is, on this day, activism, getting people active, getting people involved. If you had to talk to someone that was kind of on the cusp, but they're not sure if they should dive in and help, they're not sure what to do, where do I start? What's your advice to that person?
Well, the advice I give to this person is the same advice that my neurologist gave to me when I was diagnosed. He told me, take your time, but I strongly suggest you become a part of the FSHD patient advocacy organization. And that helped me tremendously. I no doubt. So the first advice for an FSHD patient is get engaged with the community. Be part of a team, right? Make yourself. And then the second thing is educate yourself. That is something that I would never thank the FSHD Society enough for the education effort that they are. I mean, all the material that they put in our hands, the different sessions that we have. I regularly join the wellness hour, even if it is very, very late for me. So I suffer every Tuesday. The second Tuesday of every month, it's horrible because the wellness hour is very late for me on the Mondays.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, then I know I should not schedule any important meeting on Tuesdays morning for me. So my advice is become a part of a patient organization and educate yourself with this illness in all senses. It's what is going on, what is coming, how the research is progressing around different molecules that various pharma companies are developing. But not only that, it's not only hoping for a medicine. It's how it's your quality of life. What do you need to do if you need aids? I don't know if you say like a wheelchair or something. I wear AFOs and the various types. You need to be aware of those. Your doctor may not even know or specialists or physiatrists may not even know all the different variations that there are. It's only when you get, let's say, used to searching and looking for information that you realize and say, that is here. Even if you don't need this now, then you take note of that, and it could be that you will need it in 3 years, and then you go on. Sure, you won't waste your time suffering or looking for something when that solution is already there and you were not aware of. That's part of our self-improvement, self-education. That would be my two cents, right? My two pieces of advice.
Yeah. I love it. A lot of great advice, a lot of great takeaways here today, Ricardo. Thank you for taking some time on this World FSHD Day to celebrate this day with us, recognize it, and recognize all the great work you're doing. I know you're part of a mass community. You're definitely a
which work much more than me. So I should not get credit for this. I'm only the speaker. Thank you very much, Tim, for the work you do.
Absolutely. Thank you. Take care, Ricardo. Welcome to World FSHD Day. That is the day that we're celebrating today. We have a host of interviews and bringing people from around the world to kind of give you their corner of what they're doing to celebrate this day. And today we bring in Chelsea Moeller, who has got this amazing blog out there. You really got to check it out. Honestly, FSHD, that's how we've had her on the show prior. Now she has a larger role. We're going to talk about that here with the FSHD Society. So much to unpack in a short time, but we welcome her today. How's it going?
It's great. It's so good to be back. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're a fantastic guest. All the guests have been fantastic, and there's some of you that are probably watching for sure. So I've been very blessed that way, and you have continued that great guest streak throughout the times that you've been here. And I know today you won't disappoint either.
I will do my best. Yes.
Yeah. So this day, is important for some, and it's just the 20th of June for others, but for you, why is this day special, different, or how do you celebrate it?
Yeah. It's a great question. I feel like I'm just now, even though I was diagnosed about 12 years ago, and with World FSHD Day being relatively young, this is really the first day or first year that our family will be doing something significant to honor the day. Cool. I think when I think about any sort of collective effort, a day dedicated to honor or recognize whatever it may be, it's kind of overwhelming. It becomes even more so when it is particularly real and relevant for you. There's a lot of days out there and it's like, yes, want to honor all the people in their roles and for what they contribute. And then when the day really resonates personally with you, it takes on a whole new meaning.
Yeah.
And in particular, this one is really about raising awareness because it is such a, if you know, and if you don't, then you're sort of like, okay, there's another day that doesn't relate to me.
Right.
Cool.
Right.
Yeah. So it's an opportunity for our family to share our story and our experience with those we know and those we don't, in some sort of fun ways. It's not a fun topic. However,
it's not.
Yeah. I mean, what is there fun to say about the chronic?
The muscles are melting away. That's
condition,
great.
Right. So, I mean, are there joyful ways that we can raise awareness and bring people along on the journey? And I feel like the FSHD Society has found a few of those ways, one of which is the Orange Slice Selfie campaign, which is such a sweet sentiment. I mean, it's tied to that childhood joy of taking the orange slice and having it serve as your smile. And
silliness.
Right? It's joyful, it's playful, it's something you have access to all the time. People with FSHD won't always necessarily have access to their smile, it's an introduction, it's a connection, it's comfort.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things. It seems so simple. And then it's not for a lot of people. So having that campaign, that thing that everybody can relate to, and then relating it to something that maybe they can't, helps to provide a bridge of understanding for folks. So that's one way that we'll be celebrating and kind of doing the social media push, I think is probably the most prevalent way, which plug for the little social media kit that the FSHD Society has on their website, all the different kind of fun things that you can do on social media and email and all that kind of stuff to spread the word and raise awareness on that day.
Yeah, they do help.
Mm.
FSHD Society, kind of like, here's it all in a box for you. Just simply unpack it and go for it. And
like an easy, user-friendly steps.
Yeah.
I'm not a social media guru, and they have it laid out really, really nicely for us amateurs.
I can say that too. I think I'm more like get to the threshold of doing something on social media that I think will be impactful. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm stupid. You know, I end up looking at my teenagers and they're like, well, you're on Facebook. You know, I'm like, I have to expand my horizons. Yeah. It sounds like I have to go to other social media platforms. That's my first step. And which FSHD Society is, and this platform does go beyond that, or this campaign goes beyond just Facebook. It goes to every little corners of it. So then within that, it sounds like we're trying to bridge that gap, and maybe that campaign helps. The gap is the knowledge, the telling people what FSHD is. So, what do you wish more people knew about it? So it became more like, this is going to sound bad, Chelsea, but when people say ALS, they know right away what you're talking about. They say MS, which MD gets confused with all the time. So what do you wish that people knew more about FSHD?
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah. This is an interesting one. Because aside from just like knowing that it's a thing, and it's the most common or one of the most common forms,
right?
Which makes it sneaky. There are the ones that it's very, very evident how it manifests in terms of symptoms and progression. And then there's this one that doesn't always seem quite as debilitating because it is so slow and kind of, can be confused with aging depending on when and how your symptoms start to appear. So I think what I would want people to know at this moment in FSHD's journey is that it's a thing, which we've made so much progress. When I was diagnosed over a decade ago, it felt like there were so few places to turn for information and support and consolation, hope, kind of like forget about it. Like my specialist was like, don't Google it. I think I said that last time. And I was like, really? Like, that's all you got for me is like, don't Google it. This is going to be a long road. And I didn't for the longest time. I eventually did, as we all do. Curiosity got the best of me. So fast forward to today, and there's so much to be hopeful for. Like, we've made so much progress. And I think that's the other thing. So aside from knowing it's a thing, because I feel like, and I think a lot of people who are aware of it do, it's probably really underdiagnosed because it's so sneaky in its presentation. So knowing it's a thing, knowing what it looks like, what its impacts are, so that we can, get as many people diagnosed and sort of elevate the awareness that way and elevate some of the solutions to the problem. And that's the other thing I would want people to know is like, we are on the precipice of some really cool solutions. Like we are so close and things have come so far and we are within a stone's throw. So like, just there are things to be hopeful for. I think that's what I would want the FSHD Society or the community to know is that, hang in there, take good care of yourselves, do your best. There's hope on the horizon. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. Progress takes time, but we've made a lot of progress and we're getting closer every day. So stay hopeful. I would want people to know that.
Yeah. Stay vigilant. Is that it?
Yeah. Vigilant and hopeful, which is not easy all the time when you have a progressive condition with 0 treatments.
Right.
And, it's not, there are some tough days for sure. So stay hopeful. I don't know.
So you want them to know, right? I mean, it is that basic. It's like anything else with people as you walk your normal day. There's some days I think we're okay to be invisible, and there's other days where like I just wish someone would recognize me a little bit today.
Yeah,
I don't know. Some of you don't know why that is, and I think on this day, I believe our community is asking for that. Please recognize this. This sucks. and we don't want to be misunderstood or misrepresented by saying we have MS, or, all due respect to those that are battling their something, but we want a day.
Yeah.
And this is ours. And orange is the thing, orange slices is the thing. And just to be recognized, just like for one day, can everybody just pause and go, this is important, this is happening. And I think to your point is, I think there's more happening with this disease, meaning that I think more people have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really believe that. I mean, I see I see a lot of kids in our baseball organization, and right away when I see a kid with some winging, some shoulder issues, I'm not saying I will run right over and go, you have FSHD.
Right. Give that.
I don't do that at all. I've never done that. Never probably will do that.
Yeah.
But it definitely gets, it piques my radar a little bit. Like, is he all right? Is she doing okay with throwing like that? I wonder,
Yeah.
And it just kind of, so it goes back to we don't want to be over panicking, but yet I don't think anybody even knows it's really in the world. And the more we have the opportunity to say something about it, the better we're going to be. You use the word elevate. I don't know if you realize that. Did you realize you used that word, elevate? Elevate the everything, right?
Yeah.
It's an interesting choice.
Well, I mean,
I like it.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're elevating awareness, which is necessary to affect change, right? Like even in terms of identifying people who have the condition, the more aware we are, the more motivated more people are to find a solution. The more lives that are impacted, the more relevant it becomes for more people. So I do think elevate is the appropriate word in all regards, and I don't know. I'm happy to I don't know what part I'm gonna play in that, but I'm really looking forward to it because it's so critical. It's critical not just for my family, but I know that there are so many others out there that are in a similar boat and even further progressed. And I feel like we don't have time to wait, but while we're waiting, what can we do?
Yeah, you're doing a lot because you had the Honestly FSHD blog, and that's still going on, right?
Yep.
Still going on. I think those have to definitely jump on it. The last one, as we record this, I read it, was the places I cannot go. Man, is that relatable? Holy smokes!
Right.
I never thought I'd break out in a cold sweat when I saw stairs ever in my life, And lately, yes, you are already pre-thinking your navigation of how things go. So that's what that one is about. So you're doing a lot of things with the blog post, but you take it a step further because now you're with the FSHD Society, right? I mean, you're in.
I am. I'm here. I have arrived. I'm excited. I had been in conversation with the society for a while, just wanting to contribute in some way. I wasn't sure exactly what I had to offer, but I thought, I want to get involved. I want my own personal awareness to grow. I want to elevate my own personal awareness while I'm furthering some of this work. And as it happened, a position at the society opened that really is in my wheelhouse of career experience and what I love. So I'm the director of development. I'm going to help with fundraising, and which is really at core about honoring the people who support the work the society does by making contributions. And that, to me, it's all about heart and connection. People want to do something meaningful, and they see the work the society is doing as meaningful, and the path toward patient support and advocacy and treatment development and all of those things. And if I can help connect some dots and make people feel great about the impact they're making, that's what I want to do. And that's what I've done in my career in various places. And I'm really thrilled to get to do it here now.
Yeah. Kind of tying it all together, all your skill sets, as well as the disease you're fighting yourself personally and so forth, and putting it all on the table. You're all in.
I'm all in. I'm leaning in. Yes.
Wow. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. I mean, there are times when I'm like, wow, this, and I think it's because I've done a total 180 from where my journey started, where I was like, no, thank you. I know you said this, but I'm not going to deal with this right now. We're going to cling to denial like it's our BFF and we're going to ride off into the sunset. And I did that very effectively for a while, and I think it served me for a time.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
its place. Yeah.
So you had to break up with denial.
I did. I
Yeah.
did. And the hard thing is usually the right thing. So I did the hard thing. It was the right thing. And now, I think that part of the reason I started the blog was because the story of my progression is going to tell itself. How do I want to participate in that telling?
Yeah.
And part of me getting involved at the FSHD Society is, how do I want to participate, and how this story unfolds for me and my family, for the other people who are affected by it. I'm not oh, there's a problem, I hope somebody else can deal with it kind of person. I am definitely like, there's a problem, like, how can I help find a solution? How can I help make things better? So in whatever small way I can do that here, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to find great joy in it, and be educated myself along the way, which is really, really wonderful.
Nice. So then it leads into my last question that I like to ask in these interviews is, you have someone that's kind of on the cusp of wanting to maybe get involved, and I'm not really quite sure. Maybe they don't want to go hyper involved like you have or others, but yet they're feeling like a little bit of a pull. What would you say to that person? They're sitting across from you and they're like, I'm not really sure what to do if I'm going to do anything.
Yep.
What's your advice?
I think it really does depend on where you're at in your own personal journey. There are a host of ways to get involved. There are, chapters across the US and even Canada. I think there are chapters everywhere that people can get involved with for some support and engagement. There are, the webinars all the time that can help inform you about things. There are people at the society that will connect with you and talk to you and kind of figure out if there are resources specific to you that they can connect you with. So I think it depends on where you're at, what you're looking for. I remember my very first outreach to the society was actually to Cherniwchan in 2015. I had been diagnosed in 2012. In 2015, I worked up the courage to send an email, and then I did not do anything else for years. She wrote back. She was lovely and responded to and kind of spoke to me where I was at, and provided just some yes, this is hard. This is hard. Just some recognition and affirmation. And that's all I needed. That's all I could handle right then. So I think people need to take into consideration, what do you need? Do you need an ear? Because it's important to know if you just need to be heard versus you want somebody talking back to you and giving you guidance or advice.
Right.
That stuff can kind of land not insensitively. It's always well intended, but it can be kind of if that's not what you're ready for, if you just need to be heard, which is totally fair, then you want to go somewhere else. Then if you want to take action and lean in and be a part of fundraising or a group chat or a chapter somewhere. So I think it does really depend, but I would encourage people to there are a ton of people at the society that would talk to somebody and try to figure out where to steer them, and understanding where they're at, and then trying to connect them in the best place that will serve them at that time.
It sounds like don't just do nothing. Do even if it's a little something. Take a small step forward. Take a look around. This is what I want to do.
Yeah, I think so. And the beauty of that is if you get uncomfortable at any time, you can back away.
True.
Until you're ready for that next little step.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're in good company. That's the important thing.
That's the truth.
Lots of good company over here.
People who
understand. Yeah.
Excellent people such as yourself. And thanks for joining us today on this World FSHD Day. See, there I am. I always slow it down. I told you.
You did well.
I was like, man, I want to switch the words. This is not good. So I'm glad I didn't just screw it up this time. Yeah. And I don't mind being vulnerable and telling people, sometimes Tim, stumbles over some,
We all do it. We all do it.
So yeah, that's awesome that you took the time to join us today for this great recording to celebrate the day a little bit. Hope you enjoy it with your family. Maybe you'll be watching yourself here on the broadcast of this on this great FSHD World FSHD Day. See, I just
Thanks
did
for having me.
You bet. Take care.
Take care.
Welcome all to the FSHD Straight Talk show, and we are here celebrating World FSHD Day. It is a day that I like to at least, stop, pause, recognize it, celebrate it. For some people do different things on this day. Either they're wearing orange like crazy, they're doing the orange slice, selfies and so forth, campaign, trying to raise money. If it's not necessarily just for the FSHD Society, but other organizations. And the way we see it at this show, it really doesn't totally matter. We're trying to all try to cure the same disease. So if we can combat it from different directions and different angles, why not, right? Let's more shots on goal, as my Canadian friends would say. So we have here then Rick and Terry. You guys are part of, or you are, the Friends of FSHD Research. So welcome and helping us celebrate this day, World FSHD Day. How are you all doing?
Doing good.
That's good. Yeah. So
we're great. Thanks.
You're doing great. So where are you guys seated at? This is obviously it looks like your home, but like what state, what area are you guys at?
We're based in Kirkland, Washington, right out of Seattle. And
Nice.
the scene you're seeing behind me is my high-tech office for Friends of FSH
Beautiful.
Research.
That is the home base. We are
Yeah.
looking.
It's pretty much the home base. There's a little bit of Friends of FSH Research in almost every room of the house. There's something
Nice.
that we're getting together for an auction, or we're trying to sell, or we're got papers, or we're doing something. But yeah, it's our house.
That's beautiful. Well, this way you get more done. You can be in your pajama pants, perhaps, or a cup of coffee, or, that's why I like to work from home. Yeah, I mean, this is my little home studio too. So I get it. You get some things done. It's a little more, saves on gas money. There's
Yeah,
no commute.
Are
So-
you sharing with me that you have your pajama pants on under there?
I don't. I mean, I do have pants on, but it's not pajama.
All right. So
We're
no
all safe.
further.
Yeah. However, it has been known to happen that my dog Cooper does make an appearance from time to time. So don't be alarmed when you see an animal about this height, about right here. I'm fully aware that he's there. We just keep rolling. So on this day, June 20th, we always recognize it. We do a bunch of interviews and bring people from around the area. So you from one corner of the United States, me in the middle of the road here in Wisconsin. You said you were from Madison before we hit record. I think that's awesome. So you have a little bit of the roots from our area. But where did you start this, or why did you start this group that you guys are now with?
Our organization.
Yes.
After my son was diagnosed with FSH when he was 16, we kind of looked around to see what our options were, who was doing what.
Mm-hmm.
And this was back in 2003. And unfortunately, there wasn't adequate stuff being done at that time, in my opinion, either by the NIH or the MDA or anybody else. And I'm a nurse by my profession as a nurse, and I guess I've always been kind of a person that's got to just take action of some sort. And I think it made me maybe cope with the diagnosis better to do something. And so the thing I decided to do with my son's input was to start an organization. He was in charge of putting together our website, and we decided to try to make money and raise money for research. And so we did that. Our very first one was in January of 2005.
Wow.
And it was such a big hit, and we had such a good success that we decided to do a second one, and we are now getting ready to do our 21st one in February.
That is amazing. Yes. I mean, you've been blazing the trail for a lot of years. You got a big anniversary coming up, right, in 2025 of your organization.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, your 20th, right? I mean, being around for 20 years, trying to make impacts into this disease that a lot of people don't seem to understand or even recognize or even know about, or it's got to be an uphill battle. What's been some of the hardest struggles?
Well, being able to understand the science is one of the biggest struggles.
Yeah, agreed.
People haven't heard about it, and then you start telling somebody about it, and they say, "Oh yeah, I know somebody with MS," and then you have to kind of backtrack a bit, and there's not a lot of people that you run into that automatically say, "Oh yeah, I know that one." You know, so you always are seeking support, donors, etc., from people that most likely have no contact with this. It's not like cancer. It's not like hungry children that need a meal. It's kind of a hard one to explain, and also to make them feel like it's going to make a difference, because research is so slow.
Yeah.
But I guess that's probably one of the biggest challenges, is to express it in a way that people can connect and see the human side of it, and see the necessity of speaking up and taking action for a rare disease, one that has kind of been overlooked by a lot of organizations and our governmental funds, but yet has a lifetime impact on people's lives.
Yeah.
So I guess that's one of the biggest challenges. And you do lose a few friends along the way when they run into you and they're afraid you're just going to ask them for money or to do something for them. So there have been a few bumps in the road that way, but we've been incredibly lucky in the number of people that have found that this is a really important cause. It's very personal, and that's where we've gotten most of our support, is people who know people, and our family, and our friends of our family, and
Yeah.
Did that answer your question pretty well?
Oh, absolutely. And I shake my head constantly in the affirmative of that, because I totally agree. Like, the science is a struggle. To be quite honest with you, I mean, I hear it all the time, DUX4, and I can't help but inside, like, I'm trying to listen, I'm trying to understand what you're telling me, scientist person, but there's also the other part of me that's just like, just talk to me, tell me some answer, speak to me in a plain language. Give me a timetable. Give me speak real to me. I understand this is difficult, right? Don't give me false hope. I don't want that.
Yeah.
Or some hope, right? So yeah, I totally get that. And then of course, I've had some friends, kind of fallen off along the way too, just by the simple fact that I find it incredible that when you tell someone you're diagnosed with something, all of a sudden a lot of distance started happening. Friends of mine that have been diagnosed with other things like MS, as you mentioned, and other things similar, have kind of said that. They kind of give me that warning shot. Just watch. There'll be some friends that you thought you were really tight with, and it's not that they verbally say, "I'm out of here," but they just start to distance themselves. They don't know how to understand it. They don't want to talk to you about it. They don't want to only hear about that. It makes them feel too mortal.
Maybe that's it.
And then in your case, they don't want to be always writing a check to help the foundation or the organization that
right. Or if Terry calls you, maybe let it go to voicemail.
Well, and the other thing on the other side of that is that we've met and made a lot of friends with people we would never met before, and they've been very supportive and very helpful, donations or volunteering or whatever. I mean, and it's just incredible sometimes the people who do come through. So there's both sides of it. You lose some, but you gain some.
And we always have said that for our lives, we've gained more in our life by doing this work and meeting these people and working on something and really feeling a day-to-day purpose, really. Right? We just wish it wasn't a personal purpose. We wish it wasn't our son, right? But what we've gained as people and human beings helping human beings has been much greater, much bigger payoff than the detriments.
And I think that I also wanted to go back and add one more thing to the science question. When we first started off, the science seemed very complicated, and then they discovered the DUX4 and confirmed that was the cause, and thought, great, we've got a solution. And then we hear from them that, well, it's not quite that simple. And it's like, well, really, it didn't seem simple to start with, and now you're telling me it's even worse. And so, my eyes glaze over, and I kind of think, okay, I'll just keep raising money, and you work on what you're doing. I can't really follow the science, the details so much, and I really admire those people who can dig into this. But it's complicated. It's not just straightforward. DUX4 causes this. Through DUX4, you cure the disease. I mean, it kind of is that, but it's not that. How you do all that is way more complicated than we ever thought it would be or can even understand.
Yeah. I remember many times sitting, Dan Miller used to be one of our researchers at the University of Washington, and I'd go meet with him, and he'd get up to his whiteboard and, draw pictures and explain the whole thing. And I'm just, I'm doing this, and I think I'm understanding it, but I bet like the next year when I met with him, I would ask him the same things. He'd draw the same pictures, and I'm like, okay, I think I get it this time. But it is a complicated disease, so you do have to, I guess, give the researchers a little leeway, because it's a lot to try to figure out. When we figured out the DUX4 thing, 2010, okay, we nailed that down. I thought, why don't we just figure out something that encapsulates, the DUX4 protein?
Yeah.
And put it to bed, just close it off.
Yeah.
But it's not that easy, obviously. And it's all the downstream things that happen and things around it. And, I remember talking to another researcher, and he thought, we've got 10 years and we'll have it. Well, that was probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we just got to, I guess, the hope. You got to just keep hoping and keeping that some optimism that we're getting closer, and we have learned so much. And there's so many new players in the game too that were not existent, 20 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. The different researchers, the different techniques, the advances in technologies that make it a little faster and easier, and the communications in the internet, talking to a researcher in the Netherlands over to the Washington, and in DC, all that has made it possible to get a lot further than we ever expected in a way.
Yeah.
But,
you're right. They're not in silos anymore, right? They are more connected, seem more unified.
Yeah.
You talk about the different players involved over the years, the 20 or even 10 years ago you mentioned. What has this landscape looked like for you as you look in, retrospect, if you turn around and look right at the path that you've blazed? When you started to where you are, the researchers that were involved then to what they are now, what are some of the big differences that you can see?
Well, there just are some.
Yeah.
That's the big one. I remember going through all the NIH grants, sitting here in my office, just trying to look at them all and see how much money was being spent by the NIH for various conditions. And what they were doing in FSH was minuscule, right? But there was still so much money being spent on things that I thought we already understood. We knew that smoking was bad, but still the amount of money going to prove that smoking was bad was overwhelmingly, it was just something, it was just hard to change the routine. The NIH has a strict way to do it, and other big organizations sometimes get bogged down with their structure, their rules. And so they would keep funding what was comfortable. What, this particular researcher, okay, he's put out publications, so we keep funding them, but it's not changing the landscape.
Right.
And so that I think is what has changed. That's what our organization has tried to do, is to let people with a new idea, something maybe risky, something that maybe hasn't been proven yet, but it seems by our scientific advisory that it might have a bit of weight. It has an idea that looks like it's worth looking into a kernel. And so even with a $50,000 grant, it gives them a chance to see where that might go, and we've had some major payoffs that way by taking a little bit of a risk, being nimble, and giving that grant at a kind of a quick time period after reviewing kind of quickly to get it off the ground. So we're not sitting around waiting for a year or two of analysis and hemming and hawing before we got the money out of the door. Yeah. So I think a lot has changed over the last, definitely over the last 20 years, but even the last 10 years, the number of pharmaceutical companies that they see a financial win perhaps, right? But they're interested and they're using their technologies, their networks, their resources to pull together stuff. And you never know what's going to be a gold mine. So it's I think it's a very exciting time right now, actually. I would love somebody to call me and say, "Oh my God, this is it," you know?
Yeah.
But I think as long as we've got so many players in the game, that might happen, you know? So I think it's a really exciting time. If somebody was diagnosed today with FSH, you know, I think the doctor would be able to say, you know, not the same old thing of, well, let's just watch and see what happens to you. They would be able to say, you know, this is a real exciting time. You know, there may not be something I can give you today, but there will be. So stay healthy and be ready, you know?
Yeah. That's a better diagnosis than most.
Yeah.
There's a lot of clinical trials on the horizon, and when we started, of course, in 2005, there were no clinical trials on the horizon. No one even thought we were close to that. And even in 10 years after that, there weren't any clinical trials. And now, I think the first trial really was 2019, but and it's been going a while, but there's many, many more that are, coming out hopefully soon, some this year. But just the fact that those companies are out there working on that and planning that is a huge difference in the landscape of where we were, like Terry said, even 10 years ago. So it's exciting. It's still difficult because it's slow.
Yeah.
It can be discouraging, but there's still, the hope is there that something will come of all this.
So what's the current project you're working on right now? Friends of FSHD Research Organization. What's your...
Well, we just ran a call for projects in the winter, and we just had our board review, etc. And we've just funded 4 different projects. Today I just wired, $100,000 to somebody at National Life Children's, to do a study.
Great.
We just talked to a company locally about trying one of their screening things for to detect DUX4.
Yeah.
So we decided we would do that.
Nice.
We've got a few irons in the pot.
Yeah, sounds like it. That's exciting in itself.
Yeah.
And you talk about, the disease being difficult to diagnose even, or tell people about, or if there's not a lot of headway, it's hard to kind of raise money. Like, well, where's this going? Right. If people can't see anything changes. So I guess, what do you wish people knew more about FSHD? And this is going to be a 2-parter. And do you think more people have it than we know?
Oh, definitely. Yes. The second one is easy to answer. Yeah. I think there's very many people that, either don't realize they have it, or it's just like, oh, I've always had kind of weakness in my shoulders. I've never really been able to reach up to the cabinet, but I thought that was just me, or, that's always been my family. Have never been able to do that, but they didn't have a disease to name to that.
Right.
And so sometimes what people find out is when they have a child later, that child gets a diagnosis. And then they look back at the family and say, that explains it.
Right.
So I do think that there's more people impacted by it than we realize. They just are lucky to be very minimally impacted, and it hasn't brought them to the doctor's attention, or they've been misdiagnosed. Like one of our board members was diagnosed with some kind of polio years and years ago, and it was only probably not all that many years ago that he kept saying, if it was polio I had years ago, how come I'm still getting weaker? How come if it was over then, what's going on now? And it's like, oh, you never did have polio. So, I mean, there are misdiagnoses, and it depends on the doctors you see, the people you see, as to when that diagnosis comes to you. So, yeah, I think that we do have more people that we know about. What was the first question you had? That was the second.
What do you wish people knew more about FSHD?
I think that what I think that is, to me, one of the things that I think is not necessarily different. There's other diseases like this, but it's maybe one of the things that makes FSHD slightly different is it doesn't, it affects a person for their whole life. And I think that that's one of the things that maybe can make people understand the impact it has. you typically people don't die from this disease, but they're affected their whole life and they continue to degenerate through their whole life. And it's many, many years of living with this condition.
Mm.
And so I think the amount of time that someone spends dealing with this and where they're headed is something that if people understood, they can see then the advantage to finding something that stops that or cures that. You're talking about someone who's been lived or seriously impacted by it for 60 or 70 years. And if you can make that, you can impact that a lot by finding something that slows it down, and then they only have 35 years or whatever. It
Right.
just seems like it's such a long span that someone could be affected by this. And that's, it's not just we have this disease, we can cure it. It's sort of different than other types of diseases. It's a lifetime
Right.
of disease.
I think, it's also a psychological disease, in the sense that you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I think that unknown, so many with FSH have dealt with it. They make adjustments and they know what they've got to do today to get through and to make adjustments and, revise their life and stuff to do what they need to do to stay independent or whatever. But what they don't know is what it's going to be like for them tomorrow. So there's always kind of this little cloud hanging there that psychologically they have to be prepared for, adjust again one more time. And I think that can be quite a struggle. I would think you got to be a pretty strong person to be able to just kind of roll with that and say, oh, well, I used to be able to pick up this glass from this counter yesterday, but I guess it's now a little lower now. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot to ask somebody to go do all of them. I think you just recognize that daily impact, that kind of cloud that's there. But I don't know. I think for our organization, maybe not about what FSH is, but when all of our donors know that every penny they give us goes to this mission, I'm not buying a new chair for my office, and there's not much here going on. And we're retired, we don't need an income, so it's kind of like everything. We have one mission, and that mission was the passion of our son, doing something for him. But since then, all the people we've met since, we've got a lot of people with FSH that are very dear to us, and it's a passion now. And anybody that donates to us knows their money's safe with us. Everybody that has FSH knows we've got them. We're trying hard to find something for them. So, I don't know that I don't know if I'm getting right to the question or just going around a question. I don't know, but there you go.
No, I think I think you both answered it very well from different vantage points. You could keep going on, right? I mean, there's so many different perspectives when it comes to people. What do you want them to know more about it? Like you said, Terry, the psychological side. I've talked about that constantly. Like, what's worse, the emotional side of this or the physical? One causes the other, and so forth. Your explanation of it being like a cloud, absolutely, man. That's very, very spot on. That's kind of how I feel about it. So it's like just something that just walks with you. For me, sometimes people say, well, how are you doing today? I'm like, well, I'm in pain all the time, blah, 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 whatever. Like, me and pain are best friends, man. That's just how this works. We just hold hands, and that's just how it's going to be. If I'm not in pain, I'm like, uh-oh, something's going on. Like, right. Like, maybe that's that. But the point is, right, of all of it is just making sure people know what this is, hear us, see what's happening. Great people like yourselves are fighting to raise money. So last couple of questions for you. One is, if someone's kind of on the brink of getting involved, if it's creating an organization like you guys did, all in. I mean, that's pretty all in there, Terry and Rick. I mean, to say, hey, we're going all in, we're going to do this on our own, here we go. Or just someone that wants to donate their time, energy, etc., into an organization that's already there, but they're not quite sure. They're not really quite sure. You know, they're on the cusp of making that decision. What would you tell them?
Well, I don't know. We always can use volunteers. We can use support of any kind. An email that says "good job"
Yeah.
is always nice too. Hear something like that. You know, we get a lot of donations of items for our auction, and the art community in our area has been fabulous. But you know, so we welcome whatever kind of participation anybody wants to do. If they want to just help at the auction for one day, if they want to write letters for us, they can do that. It's really whatever somebody wants to do, what they're comfortable with, you know. And I know sometimes for somebody with FSH, the energy can be very difficult to find to do more than what they're doing, coping through their day. But sometimes it can be their loved one that could, you know, or a friend that can do the volunteering in their honor, basically, you know. So, you know, we welcome any donations, any support, anything. It helps us, you know, because there are days that this is kind of tough for us to do this too. But you know, we welcome any kind of volunteer or support.
And if they want to know more about your organization, Friends of FSHD Research, where do they find that information? And of course, to donate.
Yeah, all of that is on our website. We have one of our board members, George Shaw, has been our webmaster since we met him.
Nice.
And all of our information, our background, every research study we've ever funded is on that website. And there's also ways to donate on that website, links to that. There's also information about our next gala will be on there as well. That's February 1st.
Nice.
And all of that, everything's on our website. And that's www. Whatever. What is it?
It's FSHFriends.org.
I don't know if everybody says the HTTPS thing anymore. Probably.
No, you got to do that.
Yeah.
Just FSHFriends.org.
FSHFriends.org. Nice. Love it.
And
I wanted to make sure that was said because.
And to reach me, it's just Terry at FSHFriends.org.
Okay, be careful now. Uh-oh, here we go. Yeah, here comes the emails. Later. All right, I love it, Terry. I love it. I love that challenge.
Keep the letters coming.
Yep, keep them coming. Well, thank you guys very much for spending some time with me today, celebrating World FSHD Day. Everything you do for our community is remarkable. I know you do it for your son, but thanks for doing it for us too. We appreciate it.
Well, it's been very nice talking to you, Tim.
You bet. Take care, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the FSHD Straight Talk. And we are doing special episodes throughout the day as we've been talking about as we celebrate World FSHD Day. And this day on June 20th is kind of the marking of kind of letting people know that we want to be recognized as a community. And how we're doing that is spanning the globe a little bit here. So we're bringing in Jennifer. Jennifer, thanks for being here for a little bit of time on this day, World FSHD Day, and tell us a little bit about where are you from? Where are we talking to you from? And maybe a little bit of your FSHD story.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on today. I am from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And my FSHD story is that it runs in the family. So from a very early age, I knew I had it. And my dad actually, it runs on my dad's side of the family. And so he has it and his mother had it. And out of my two siblings, my younger sister has it too. So we actually have formed the Alberta Chapter of the FSHD Society, and we run that here. We just started about a year and a half ago, and we have that running in Alberta. Nice.
So that is, that's us, breaking through to the north. I was excited to hear that when those things are happening. Are you the only chapter in Canada, or is there others?
There's two others, I believe. There's one in British Columbia, and there's one in Ontario.
Nice. if people don't know, your area of Canada, kind of like describe your town, kind of, like your area of Alberta.
Well, we are actually very close to Banff and Lake Louise. So we are close to the Rocky Mountains.
Nice.
So as one of the highlights of living in Calgary is that you are 45 minutes to an hour away from the mountains, lots of hiking, wildlife, camping. So that to me is like makes it worth living here, just to have easy access to the mountains.
Yeah, because that's when you look at FSHDsociety.org and you pull up the Alberta chapter, they talk about the chapter leadership and kind of a get to know you part. And yeah, it sounds like you're very active, like to hike, mountains. That's kind of seems like your passion. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I've been so fortunate because physically for me, like I have like a lot of chronic pain. I would say primarily with FSHD, and I do have like facial muscle weakness, and my shoulders are an issue, upper body strength. But I'm still able to get out there, hike, maybe not as fast as I'd like to, or carry as much weight when we backpack out into the mountains as I'd like to. But my kind of philosophy is like, use it till you lose it, which maybe is the right philosophy. But for me, I'm like, I'd rather take full advantage now and get out there. So we're actually in September, we are planning a hike in Corsica, which is just an island, a French island, and it's a 190-kilometer hike. That's going to take us over the span of, I think, about 13 or 14 days. So it's a lot to put on my body, but mentally, it's just like the best thing for me. So we're going to be doing a lot over the summer to get ready for that.
Holy cow. That is, yeah. I mean, I thought you were going to say like 3 to 4 days. Yeah, when you granted the kilometer distance, that doesn't make sense. But wow, I mean, that's a huge undertaking. Are you going to turn that into a charity event? Maybe we can, like hiking for FSHD. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
We were actually thinking that too, because the day that we start the hike in Corsica is the day of our walk and roll, the Calgary roll.
Yeah.
So exact days, we're like, oh, we should try to tie that in, like do like a fundraiser for that. And I think we will.
Oh, spoiler alert. Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Maybe I spilled the beans too early there on you. But I thought, man, that'd be a great idea. So kudos to you. I mean, to kind of put that out there. And it's going to be a challenge. I mean, I've thought of that too. I used to hike a lot as well. And similar to your story, kind of slow it down. And I mean, when I was like a late teenager, I hiked the Grand Canyon, like rim to rim with a friend. And I did think the same thing. Like, what if I did it again in my late 40s, now almost 50, with the same, because we're still friends, with the same guy, and we do it for FSHD. And it was definitely talked about until my friend says, like a lot of people die hiking the Grand Canyon every year. So we really have to consider everything here. I'm like, because he hikes it almost every year. He'll go and do it. So I'm like, okay, death. How much money can we raise when there's death involved, right? Like,
Exactly.
high risk, high reward, people. No, but I give you credit. That is awesome. That's a huge undertaking. And it sounds like a exciting event. Is there going to be a way you think that you'd have people like track you? You'd be able to do? I mean, I don't know what the service is on cell phones out there.
Yeah, I really am. I'm not sure about the connectivity out there.
Yeah.
I just had a friend who recommended it. She said, "Oh, it's a great hike to do." And thankfully, like my partner, he's quite like muscular. Like he's like the total me. Like he builds muscle and is quite strong. So he takes like the lion's share of the weight when we do backpack adventures. Because like for this one, we'll go from like campsite to campsite to campsite in Corsica. So he takes like the heavy stuff, and then I get like the pillows and the like the range stuff. So he packs my bag very light, and then he takes most of the stuff.
Nice. That's a good partnership. So when it comes to FSHD, you have it, it's in your family. As a family, sounds like you're doing a lot to impact it. A chapter, other things happening within your family to fight FSHD, kind of joining within that. What are some of the things that you're excited then about seeing? Because obviously some of the fruits of that labor are coming out a little bit as we're seeing, posts going out and, reports about certain phases and certain points and certain trials. And I guess my question is like, how do you feel about that? Obviously, it's probably a positive feeling, but I would love to hear it in your own words.
Oh, actually, it's really nice being like a chapter lead with my sister, because I feel like we kind of have a bit of like I don't know, the heads up about things that are coming, and it actually makes me quite excited. And we did have the Calgary 360 conference this year in March, and it was great hearing from researchers and like the drug pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not like, I don't fully understand like everything that's happening, but it just sounds so optimistic. So for us, I think it's very encouraging, and to kind of get that out to the other members of our chapter. I think everyone, like the kind of the vibe that I'm getting is that everyone's really encouraged with the news that's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly like my dad, it's really nice because we kind of run it as like a family. Like my dad, Neil, he does oh gosh, I'm going to forget the name of it. It's like a Canada organization of FSHD.
I think it is FSHD Canada.
Yeah, I think. Okay.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah. I think I've had him on before. Yes.
He runs that. And then my mom, they're no longer together, but my mom, she actually coordinates the walk and roll, the Calgary chapter. So it's really nice. Like I feel like there's just like a great family support. And I think with all the exciting news that's coming down, we're getting more members into our chapter too. Like everyone wants to kind of hear like, oh, what is the latest and what is happening? How can I join these like different trials? And so that is what we hear a lot of from the members who are joining the chapter. So yeah, it's really exciting. I'm personally quite optimistic about everything that's coming out.
Yeah. One of the hurdles, it seems like, is when I've told people, oh, I have a form of muscular dystrophy, I kind of like just generalize it, and then if they ask for specifics, I kind of get into it. But I've not met anyone that said I've heard of that. And maybe you've had that like similar response. So, what do you wish people knew more about FSHD?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. Because I find the same thing, like no one's ever heard of it. And when you go for a massage or something, then you say like, oh, I have muscular dystrophy. I just shorten it to muscular dystrophy. And then it's like, oh, so when were you diagnosed with MS? Like it always goes to MS.
Always MS. Yes.
Just excited. Like whenever I go for like massages and stuff, I don't even mention it. I just let them like figure it out. I don't even say what I have anymore, but I think like for me, like in my phase of the disease progression, it's more like it takes a toll on the body that I don't think many people realize. Mm-hmm. So I do get tired more easily, and I need more sleep. And I think it might come across as being lazy or something along those lines, or like I'll get my partner to help like lift things up, and there is the associated pain and stuff too, but I think I hide that fairly well. And there's nothing that you can take for the pain, etc. So you just kind of deal with it. So I'm glad that it's not more visible for me, because you can't really see that I'm affected maybe, but you just like unseen cost to your body. And I push my body. I do. Like I fully admit that, but just because it's good for my mental health. But maybe just I wish more people knew that there is kind of, if you are more tired, or by the time Friday comes around, I've put in a full week of work, and I maybe am a bit more, I'm not going to say cranky, but I'm like, oh, I'm ready to like get to bed. I'm not to go up all night. It's usually just because of the disease. I'm just tired.
Right. Yeah. The fatigue in general. I totally agree. I mean, I'll have like a full day of whatever activity. I'm a baseball coach, so maybe it's a full day of that or whatever, and doing things around the house, right? And then I get to around like 8-ish or something, and I will literally look at my family and go, does anybody need anything else from me? As soon as I sit down, like like I'm not only going to fall asleep, but it just feels like the muscles then relax. And then if I have to go, start again, it's hard. It's like it hurts and it's stiff, and well, they always laugh at me. We're good. It's like, okay, good. And I just want to be done and kind of power down, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And I can sleep for like 13 hours in a row. Like I'm a great. So it's, I think that's thanks to FSHD. I just like, my body's like, you can relax.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
How do you think your life then would be different if you didn't have to manage FSHD?
Oh, it's interesting. I try to be thankful for what I've got, because like doing the Corsica hike, to me is so exciting. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I can't wait for it. But I see, ultra marathon runners and people doing all these, crazy physical challenges that I know I could just never do.
Yeah.
But my heart wants to. Like, I think if I didn't have this, then I would be like, oh man, I would love to do like ultras. I would love to do just more extreme. Like there's a hike in Europe that you can like trail run in like 24 hours. And I'm like, oh, that'd be an amazing challenge to do. Like, there's not a chance that I'd be ever able to do that, but you kind of look at that and your heart like yearns. But then I'm like, I'm so thankful because I can do like, not a lot of fully able-bodied people will hike the Corsica hike or do like the things that we do. So, or can, and I'm like, I will take it. I'm going to take what I can get, and I'm going to do it till I can't, and we'll just go along with that.
Take what you can get. I like that. So at a day like, this, June 20th, we designate that as, World FSHD Day. How important do you think it is to have, recognition of a day like that? And then, we try to do the social media campaign with, the orange slices and all those things that try to draw attention, like we're almost saying, please recognize us. How important do you think a day like this and all that goes with it is to the community?
Oh, I think it's so important. I think it's nice to get our faces out there, and we have an event planned actually for the day. We're going to a restaurant, and we're gathering all of our chapter members, and we're going to do the orange slice selfie.
Yeah.
Nice. Like for me, maybe back in my teen years or early 20s, I was a bit more like ashamed of it, like a bit more, you don't want to talk about it. And we didn't really talk about it as a family either growing up. And now that we're kind of all involved in these, like in the chapter and Dad's foundation, and we talk about it now. And I really love that. And I think it's so healthy too, to get out there. And I think other people appreciate talking about it. Other people who have the disease, because there's not a lot of us who have it, and so it's kind of nice to get it out there. And when we did the walk and roll last year, we had quite a few people come up to our booth and say this and can I have some more information? So it's just getting your face out there. And we'll have a big table at the restaurant we're at, and we're having like orange tablecloths and so hopefully we stand out. In good ways, and then people can ask us questions too about World FSHD.
Totally. Yeah, draw a little attention to it. I know I would ask, right? I'm like, what's with all the orange and what are you doing this for? And yeah, people ask me that too, because there's a like you mentioned, physically, like when people maybe look at you, they don't quite notice, but they might notice, but they're not sure what it is. I mean, I kind of get that a lot with the way I walk, or the very little my arms move when I walk, and this and this. And then like when I say, or they ask, are you okay? Or I limp, I have a little bit of I'm stiff and so forth. And I always, well, I have muscular dystrophy. I just hammer it with them. They're just like, oh, I'm like, that's just the way I walk. And I'm hoping they go, oh, well, it's like, tell me about that. Or it introduces where I can at least name it. And then it's kind of someone on their radar, even if it's just for a minute, kind of like spreading the word the best you can. I'm totally not against telling people, hey, this is what it is. But everybody has to be in their own place, right? In order to feel comfortable to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So when it comes to, we talked about the things coming, the work that you've all done, helping build up this community, raising funds, obviously, to go further to the cure, treatments, anything we can get, right? Take what you can get. I love that. Kind of a last question is, if you got somebody that's, maybe they're just on the sidelines a little bit, you want to get involved, but not sure how. Maybe they're in the Calgary area even. How, what would you say to them to kind of motivate them to kind of take that next step forward?
What would I say? We're a really fun group, and there's no involved with like, we love seeing kind of every, when we get the chapter members together, we have, younger, older, like all different types, all different phases of the disability. or stages. And so I would say come out. There's a great community here to support you. Whether you want just research information, whether you want more emotional support, just people to vent with, we're here, and we would love to have you. I think it's it might be a bit intimidating at first, because sometimes it's a bit shocking when you walk into a room and you see everyone affected the same way you are. It's so strange, right? Because you walk in, you're like, these people, they walk the same as me. They can't whistle, they can't blow up balloons. So it's a bit stunning maybe at first, and maybe overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I would encourage people to come on out, and the more you get involved, I think the more you get used to it, and you appreciate being around people who are the same as you.
Yeah, it's definitely emotional when you see other people that have the same disease you have for the first time. It kind of hits you a little bit, kind of catches you off guard, I think, for most. But it feels like a kinship, feels like this common thread between strangers normally that you can share. So it is definitely a positive experience. So yeah, if you're in the Calgary area, for God's sake, join the group, man. Get a fun group, interact. I like what you guys are doing there in Canada. Excited to see it grow. Yeah. So thanks, Jennifer, for joining us today and spending some time with us here on World FSHD Day. Enjoy your event later with the orange tablecloths at the restaurant. Draw some attention. We appreciate it.
Really appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'm always excited to talk to Mr. Carrino. He is a little bit of a radio idol of mine. He's a play-by-play radio announcer for the Brooklyn Nets, has FSHD, has a wonderful foundation he has started called the Chris Carrino Foundation. We welcome him now today. World FSHD Day. How significant is that, not just for us as a community, but even as for your foundation and other communities that are fighting, other groups that are fighting against this disease? How important is it to have that pivotal day to be recognized?
When I first threw my hat in the ring here and we launched our foundation, I was fortunate enough, the first kind of thing I did, I was part of a meeting of the FSHD champions, which was a kind of a loosely formed group that it doesn't really exist anymore in terms of formally. But it was all the heads of all the different foundations around the world got together in Boston.
Yeah.
And facilitated by the FSHD Society. And I remember we were all in a room just talking about how we can get more attention worldwide. And I don't want to, because I could be misremembering it, but and maybe taking credit for something I shouldn't be taking credit for, because there might be somebody listening and goes, hey, wait a minute, that was my idea. But I thought I was the one who kind of said, hey, you know how everything's got like a day?
Yeah.
Like there's National Donut Day and all this kind of stuff. Wouldn't it be great if we can do a FSHD Day?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking at the time, well, that sounds weird because D-Day, FSHD Day, it sounds like D-Day, which we just had 80 years. But,
right.
So I used to always say FSHD Awareness Day.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah,
too.
just to break up the D-Day part of it. Like we're not storming the beaches of Normandy,
right?
But we are, in a way. You know what I mean? Like that,
yeah.
that meeting of the champions that day of all the groups, the head of all the families, so to speak. That was kind of our launch here to be together a little more united, and then a few years later, it just FSHD Society kind of took up the cause of getting the World FSHD Day going on, and yeah, I mean, I think it's hugely important to do anything we can to let people who may never have heard of FSHD know about it.
Mm-hmm.
And you may just find one or two people that can help.
Yeah.
And if they're important enough to help and they can help and have the wherewithal, then it was all worth it. But it's an opportunity, right? Having a day is just another opportunity to tell our story.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thanks, Chris, for being here on this day to kind of do this almost a two-part episode. It turned into be a little bit about the Chris Carrino Foundation and what you're doing, as well
Well,
as
and I like to talk, Tim.
recognizing
That's
that.
the problem. I like to talk a lot, as I just interrupted you. But I interrupted you just now to say that, what you're doing and you're giving your time to do these interviews, and you've been doing them for years now.
Yeah.
That's important too, because you're giving an opportunity to all these people with FSHD, or all these people who are adjacent to FSHD, to tell their stories. And again, when we tell our stories, they go out. We don't know who they reached, but they have a chance to reach someone who can help.
Mm.
So you're doing an incredible amount of work, and you should be commended for telling their story and letting everyone else tell their stories as well, and getting it out to the world, because that's important, to be that storyteller. That's eventually how we find people that can help.
Thanks for saying that. Yeah, I'd like to try to be the vessel, so to speak. People say, how do you do that? Or the people you talk to, and like, those are the stars. That's why when I send out the emails to get guests in, I'm like, you're a featured guest, because you're the feature. You're the person that I want everyone to hear your perspective of this disease. How is it affecting your life? What are you doing? Regardless, you are a prime example of that, Chris. Is that, yes, you have FSHD, but man, you are a broadcasting, guru for the Nets, and then football, and even handball. We just found out today. I mean, this is insane. And regardless, right? And you do what you love, follow your passion anyway. And to me, that definitely has to be recognized too. And if it's through your foundation, that helps us as a community. And what you did, storming Capitol Hill, as I'll say it, to raise your fist and hey, hear us. This is us. This is our community. I am representing a group that needs to be heard, and it is commendable. And I don't think there could be a better person to do it, especially someone that has such a great voice. I mean, get the radio voice there, Chris. I mean, that does help, right? It gets recognized.
Yeah. Can I tell one more quick story?
Please.
I know we've taken a lot of time, and I don't know where you're going to put all this stuff, this footage. It may end up on the cutting room floor. I don't know. But just to talk to people who may be going through similar experiences as we are with FSHD, maybe the younger people.
Yeah.
You and I were bonding before we went on the air. I remember I was chastising you for taking down your Ranger stuff, New York Ranger stuff.
Yeah. I'll have to put it back
I
up.
don't see it in the background, but I'm a Ranger fan since I'm 8 years old, and got into it when my uncle got me into it when they were in the finals in 1979 against the Montreal Canadiens. I remember.
Oh, nice.
But so it's always been part of me, and it's something my family and I we kind of do together. We love going to games, watching games together, and this year, 1994, was the 30-year anniversary of the Rangers winning the Stanley Cup, and that was a huge event in my life. When I think of 1994, I think of the Rangers winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
It was a couple of years out of college for me, and I still had all these dreams about being a sports broadcaster, falling in love, having a family, the whole deal, everything we want out of our lives. But it was also the year, a few months before the Rangers won the Stanley Cup, I was diagnosed officially with FSHD.
Ooh.
So with all that, those dreams I had that I really wasn't making a lot of traction on at the time, and it's kind of a frustrating time.
Yeah.
Early 20s, and then getting this diagnosis on top of that. The thing that brought me joy were the Rangers. Right? Flash forward now. Well, I shouldn't say not forward yet, but when I get that diagnosis,
yeah.
My biggest fear became having to one day possibly need a wheelchair. And I thought that's where life ends. I'm not going to be able to, if we get to that point, if this is going to manifest itself in that way in my life, I'm not going to be able to achieve the things I wanted to achieve. That's what I was thinking in 1994. Now, flash forward 30 years.
Yeah.
2024. Rangers are the best team in hockey, and they're in the playoffs. And I'm outside Madison Square Garden, going to go into one of the playoff games. And I'm thinking to myself, here I am. I've now had a 30-year broadcasting career. I've been the voice of the Nets for 23 years. I've achieved that dream. I'm out there waiting with my wife and my son. I've achieved that dream of, falling in love, having a family.
Mm-hmm.
And soaking it in, I'm sitting there and I'm in a power wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
And I notice Stéphane Matteau walking away from the fan fest with a number of staffers walking with him. And Matteau was one of my heroes from that 94 team. He wins the game 7 against the Devils to send him to the finals, the Matteau game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now he's kind of being wished away very quickly, but out of the corner of his eye, he must see me. I'm not trying to do anything to get his attention, but he sees a guy in a Ranger shirt in a wheelchair,
Mm-hmm.
and he makes a beeline for me.
Really?
And he comes over and he shakes my hand. He puts his hand on my shoulder. He said, "Hey, would you like a photo?"
Yeah.
And my wife takes a picture of us, and we have this moment, and then he says goodbye and walks away. And I'm thinking to myself, the thing that I feared the most 30 years ago, right? All those things I didn't think I was ever going to be able to achieve, all those dreams came to fruition. And my worst fear also came to fruition.
Yeah.
And what I learned, though, is that both things can happen. And when he walked over to have this moment, it was almost like this 30-year circle was closed. And I think the message is, if anybody's going through a diagnosis, the thing you fear, you cannot let it stop you from still achieving all the things that you want to achieve in your life. Because your greatest fears may come to fruition, but it doesn't mean that your dreams can't come to fruition as well.
Wow.
So I just thought I would share that. There was a symbolism to that story that when I realized it days later after Stéphane Matteau came over and I had this moment, and thinking back 30 years, and the thing I thought about, the year I got diagnosed, the thing I still think about is not getting diagnosed. It was about the Rangers winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So, and to have that all happen, I just thought maybe your
full circle moment
audience might like to hear that story. Maybe somebody needs to hear that story.
Yeah, I did. I'm glad you shared it. Thank you. Yeah, I remember the 94 Rangers and the success of the team, but hearing that story, full circle moment, I definitely jotted down your greatest fears and your greatest dreams can both happen, right? And it's going to be okay, it sounds like, either way.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's great or it's perfect or it's the way you want it to be, but it is what it is, and you have to find a way to still not let it. I told people all the time, FSHD, when I first got diagnosed, I knew that it was going to rob me of a lot of things in my life, but I wasn't going to let it rob me of the things that I felt were most important. And that kind of determination is what you need to carry you through. And your life may not turn out exactly the way you wanted it to, or dreamed of it being, but it still can turn out the way you want it to.
Yeah.
You can still find joy in it.
Deep. Man, that is like walk off. That's like drop the mic right there. That's beautiful. Wow. Thank you, Chris, for being here and sharing that story and many others. Love to have you back on in the future. In the meanwhile, though, I'll definitely be, as the NBA season rolls over, listening to your voice across the airwaves. So hope others will become Nets fans, even if it's for the sake of Chris Carrino. That would be also fun. So thank you very much, sir, for joining us today.
Tim.
And
thank you.
Take care. Yeah.
All right.
Welcome to FSHD Straight Talk as we continue to celebrate World FSHD Day. We have here from Canada area, Vancouver. Priscilla's joining us. She's been a past guest on a show, and we wanted to kind of represent throughout the world, including Canada. We had someone on from Calgary and now Vancouver. Now, before we hit record, though, Priscilla, you said a little bit from Edmonton, right? You kind of hail from Edmonton more, and we got on the hockey conversation, which I love talking with people that know the sport. But welcome. Thanks for being here and taking some time with us today.
Thanks for having me.
You're, I would call you an exercise enthusiast, right? You like to stay fit as possible. And we covered a lot of those things last time we talked. What's kind of your routine now? Has things changed? What are the biggest changes in maybe your routine of your workouts and things, from when we talked last to now?
Well, I guess since we last talked, I joined a longevity challenge.
Whoa,
And so it's a 2-month challenge, and it's with a bunch of like real health enthusiasts. So it's been very humbling to be with I guess non-FSHDers in the same kind of challenge. And so I leveled up, I would say. So I'm wearing this like Whoop watch, and I get all of my stats. Yeah. And then I have been going to like a real gym with like bodybuilders, and they made me do all these baseline metrics, which was similar to kind of an FSHD trial, but different. And so I think for me, I realized I can do a lot more than I thought I could. And because I kept being like, oh, I can't do that. I have FSHD, or I can't do this. And they just like, these bodybuilders like, try. And I was like, okay, I will try. And then I did it, and I wasn't sore. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I've incorporated more heavy weights into my routine.
Okay.
Because I was only doing really light weights, lots of reps, but now I'm pushing some heavier weights, short reps, trying to bulk up. Yeah.
Trying to bulk up. Damn. So did that help? I mean, it sounds like it did, to be around, call it, normal, gym type people. You said bodybuilders or people that are fit and into that life, right?
Yeah. And then just like how hard they push themselves, and they just, I think it's maybe because they're a bunch of young guys and maybe not that empathetic, and they're just like, you can do it, try. And I'm like, okay, I will try. And then I was like, oh, I did it, So it's humbling, because to them, I look kind of weak, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I was pretty proud. I was like, I had no idea I could bench press whatever weight it was, right? I just would never have even thought to do it. Yeah. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And does that then kind of help with like self-image or maybe confidence? You said about, being humble, but it must also kind of give you a little boost, right?
It has been. And I've noticed my posture straightening out a lot more, because they're picking up kind of where my muscle weaknesses are. So them for sure, they're focusing on my glutes.
Yeah.
And it's making up for my weak abs, and then focusing on, say, my lats. So I would never have thought about my lats to help what's called, like, for my scapula that's weak. And then my pec. So it's like, it's neat. So it's actually kind of, it is helping.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So do you recommend that for those that believe they can challenge themselves to that degree? We're all different, of course.
Yeah. If you can try to get out of the FSHD, I can't, and be like, well, you know what? Maybe I can, right?
Yeah.
In a controlled way, and just give it a shot. Yeah.
And hang out with some gym people, right?
Yeah.
That kind of like, FSHD, what? Like, just give it a shot. I like that.
Yeah. And they give some really good tips, like in terms of like how to increase my protein intake, and just like, their world is about developing lean muscle. So they're full of a lot of good information that I just never.
It's kind of similar. Like I see this PT from time to time, and he knows about the FSHD. He actually used to be my boss and stuff. And but when he does the workouts and stuff, like he doesn't talk about the disease. It's similar to what you're talking about. He's gonna give that a shot. I'm like, okay. So I just gotta kind of start to do it. Okay, just make this adjustment, and then it should be more doable, but it'll still be challenging. Okay, it's like he doesn't treat me like, well, let's see, because I've gone to the PTs where it's the muscular, neurology type, PT, and it's really kind of fluffy. I'm kind of looking for something a little more robust and a little more challenging, and then get to that wall where I'm challenged and go, okay, when maybe that won't work. Okay, let's try this. And I mean, he even finds things within the realm of equipment, like, here, put these under your heels, and then that helps you do this. So now maybe you can do this. Oh, got it. Okay. And those are the things I think that people that are trying to stay fit kind of need. And I love the fact that you found a group that also helps with that protein intake. I'm always confused on that. I'm just looking at all the powders and whatnot. I'm like, would this help? And does it taste like crap, or does this good? Or I'm I'm always in a risk.
Yeah, they know everything, and this one bloats you, or
Yeah.
this one has no calories, so it won't break your fast, but you can still get 30 grams of protein. They have all the hacks.
Nice.
Like, yeah.
That's sweet. Huh.
Yeah.
I got to find that out in my gym then. I'm going to hang out with those guys. They'll be like, who's this guy?
Yeah, but they're all kind of motivated to help. It's
Yeah.
neat. Yeah.
That's good community.
Yeah.
With World FSHD Day, what are you doing in your neck of the woods there? Kind of.
Well, we are going to host
Celebrating.
dinner actually and presentations. So we're having, I think we've got like 30, 35 people registered and Solve FSHD. So they're headquartered in Vancouver. They are sponsoring the event, and they're going to come out. The whole team's going to come out. They're going to deliver a presentation, share what they're doing, like all the cool work that's coming out of, I guess, the Vancouver head office.
Sweet.
And probably give just some general updates. And then just in Canada, we'll talk about, we have this Project Mercury, just because when and if there is a treatment in the US, it doesn't mean Canadians will get it. And so the big focus is on how we can ramp ourselves up as a country.
Right.
So,
yeah, that project's huge to kind of make it more of a global treatment plan, right? How do we get it to everybody and starting to knock down those barriers now already and start to be more proactive. I love that. Yeah, and to me, like wherever the cure comes from, awesome. But yeah, let's get it to everybody, right? The source is one thing, but how do we cross the barriers and get into it? So we're recording this the day before that event, so I'm imagining you're pretty excited. How much work has to go into something like that?
It's a decent amount of work, I think, to find a venue.
Yeah.
Because it's just about making sure it's like so cost efficient, accessible. So in the heart of transit, but just accessible in general. So I wanted to have one that had really comfortable washroom facilities and just a lot of space. Because our group has people of all different mobilities, and I just wanted to make it really comfortable.
Beautiful.
But
Good
then
job.
thankfully Eva's going to do the presentation, and it's a bit of work, but it's a lot of fun. So that's our big event of the year is World FSHD Day.
Awesome. That sounds good. So with that being said, you talked about treatment. We talked a little bit about that for a brief sentence or two, but Avidity, bringing out the news. What's your take?
Oh, I am just so excited. It seems unreal. It feels like, is the treatment here? Like, did they figure it out? It's a little bit, I've been excited ever since I heard about it. And I just have to trying to be cautiously optimistic, but it is exciting. It is, because they're talking about like actual numbers that it's doing these positive things in the study and what they've released so far. I think they're at what phase 1-2 or something like that, 1/2 or something. So maybe it's a little early, but to be that promising that early, that's also a positive thing. Yeah, and just it seems like they're seeing metrics that they didn't even know was possible in terms of actual reduction in DUX4. So it is exciting. So I'm excited to hear from Eva, because I think she was at the Denver event. So hopefully she can speak to that. And I think there's a webinar tomorrow, but I'm excited, and it makes me even more motivated. Like a treatment is on the horizon, so we got to get Canada aligned so we can make sure we can get access to it as soon as possible, especially for the people that are really on that. Like a year or two makes a huge difference in people's lives. Yeah, because we're definitely not far off. When I think about even just a year ago and what was happening then, there's been a lot added into the mix in just that short amount of time. So imagine where we could be in just another year from now with Fulcrum and all these other things happening. Who knows? There might be more than one treatment or source, or maybe one does one thing. Who knows? The point is that it's actually on our minds more than before, because it's just more happening. It's pretty exciting time right now in this community. I think all the hard work is starting to pay off for sure, which is also the purpose of today, still raising awareness. Do you feel like that people need to know more about FSHD, like the average person, right? That, if you tell them, Lou Gehrig's disease or something of that nature, cancer, right? These things affect all humans from all walks of life, and they're a little more known. And then ours is called rare, which I don't really know how really rare it is.
So I guess the question is, what do you think people should know more, wish they knew more about FSHD?
Well, I wish people knew more about, I guess, just even muscular dystrophy in general, that there is a disease that does impact people's muscles, or for FSHD, because I find like, at least once a month I get asked if I'm pregnant, or just people comment about, I don't know, my posture, and so just maybe for people to be even a bit more sensitive in general, that there are diseases that cause some of these different challenges. And it might help people not to ask such rude questions or to be a bit more thoughtful. And then I think because it can be an invisible disease for some people. And so again, for people to be a bit more like, if someone asks for help at the grocery store, help them, because you don't know what conditions they have or what they're suffering with. And then the other one, just for them to know that FSHD exists, because I think it's so underdiagnosed. So, if you have a muscle that feels constantly sore, it actually could be FSHD, and to get yourself treated, and for doctors to know more about it.
Oh, goodness, yes.
And even neurologists to know more about the disease, because like it took me going to 2 neurologists and being like, I have 3 people that have been diagnosed with it, for them to be like, let me look into it. You know what I mean?
Right. Because it's not on their radar. And I think to your point, it's definitely misdiagnosed. I think more people have it than they realize. And I think I find myself knowing more than the doctors do, especially about treatments. There's no way they even my neurologists didn't totally know what was going on with certain phases and stuff. And I guess I can't blame them. But if people that have FSHD is within their patient realm, right? They're seeing it. I would hope you to keep up to some degree. I mean, I'm in there like every year. Got something for me? Yeah. I totally agree. So you talked about people being rude, right? Just got talking about your posture and are you pregnant? I've heard that before. That women have to take on that awkward, rude question. Very weird. So what are the physical aspects then of FSHD that kind of been the most challenging? Is it that, or even in your movements, your every day-to-day movements?
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's definitely the lower abs is just annoying, right? And as a female, you're kind of just expected to wear tight shirts. And if you're like thin and fit everywhere otherwise from your belly, people ask you if you're pregnant. So that is annoying. I would say, and just strength in general. So especially prior to me working out and starting to exercise and get my strength back, it was just challenging keeping up with my kids, carrying my kids, or just like you're in the backyard and they need their bathing suit, or just tired and fatigued, and just like not having that little bit of energy to go and get this and to get that and just to keep up with life, and then be so tired at the end of the day.
Has the exercise regime that you're moving into, or even maybe a switch if it's the protein or other things you're doing for supplements, does that help then with your energy at the end of the day?
It's helping a lot. It is helping a lot for sure. And just like my strength, just being able to be like, I'll get the groceries, or I can carry this. And and just running up and down the stairs, where at the end of the day, I used to just like ask everyone to get things for me. Now I'm like, I got it. And just like I've been doing a little bit more impact in ways I can. And I think doing a little bit of like, if you can, bounce or high impact exercises, that's been really helpful. So exercise has been a game changer, because I was just falling down.
Right.
I was like, I was just getting really depressed about like my energy level.
Yeah. And it's really hard. What was the trigger then that made you make that change? Was it something that happened, or it just kind of organically shifted?
I started just to listen to a lot of podcasts. So you slowly start, and I started to eat a little bit healthier. I started just to try to walk a little bit more. And then I just kind of kept trying to level up, and like, I'm going to join a workout class, and like, oh, I can do that, So and then now and then I was like, I can only do like 3-pound weights or 5-pound weights. And now I'm like, actually, now I can bodybuild if I want to. I'm going to go to the body, it just keeps going. I think we can do more, but it's slowly over time. Like if 2 or 3 years ago I went to the gym, I probably would have got injured,
Yeah. I mean, there is that balance of listening to your body and stuff, but I kind of agree. I think FSHD casts a little bit of a shadow in our minds when we're trying to do physical work. I know it does for me. It's a borderline excuse, not a reason, you know, and that to me is a mental problem. Part of my coping with the disease. I'm sure a lot of people struggle with the same thing, but I have this, you know, I'm going to hide behind that. Hence, like my analogy of it kind of just being like the shadow thing instead of pushing through it. So I admire you for doing that. It kind of inspires me to do it. Those last couple questions were definitely selfishly driven. I wanted to know myself.
And then one thing I learned on this Whoop thing, there's like a strain metric. And I realized I don't strain myself and I haven't been pushing myself hard. Because I tried to be a little bit more ginger with my body. And then I was seeing how all these other non-FSHDers, they strain themselves. And so I've been pushing my body harder every day. And that's been helpful.
Nice.
So it's like one of those things, like just getting out of my own head and out of my own way and quit like babying myself so much.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
And World FSHD Day also offers, you know, these campaigns. The orange slicey, you know, or slice selfie. I'm totally screwing up the words.
Yeah.
So, you know, everybody gets the orange slice going and they take a selfie and then they, you know, put it out there on social media, trying to raise awareness, kind of raising our hand to everybody else saying, hey, we're here, we exist. This is a community, this is a disease that needs your help. How important do you think continuing that campaign, even though I feel like it can be like a little bit of a struggle? Like I still don't know if that's breaking us through, but we can't stop.
Yeah, I think that campaign is great and we can't stop. And I almost would like to see it get pushed further. You know what I mean? Like a little bit more viral, how ALS had the ice bucket challenge and something, if we found it like a way to make it something even a bit more viral. I wouldn't stop what we're doing and I'd keep it, but it's like, is it like how many oranges can you eat? I don't know, right?
Yeah.
There is big power to a viral campaign to bring unknown diseases to the masses. You'd be like, oh, what is that disease? Interesting, right?
Right. Yeah. It does have its place, but I'm with you. There's something else that's got to push it over. You know, the edge. I don't know if it's like a semi-famous person or I don't know. I don't know what the breakthrough mechanism is going to be. So yeah, when we were saying there was, you know, we needed that mechanism to kind of bust it through. Who knows what that'll be, but I think the campaign is important nonetheless. It's significant to kind of recognize the day. And it sounds like you're doing a great job in Vancouver doing that. I hope that it's going to be a fun event. It sounds like it will be impactful as well. After this event happens, what's kind of on the horizon for your area with FSHD community? What's kind of like the next thing? Do you have that on your radar already?
Yeah, so we usually do World FSHD in June and then followed with the walk and roll in September. We haven't done a formal walk and roll yet. We're just, I think, a new and emerging group. So we usually just do a pub night, but still it's just an opportunity for us to raise awareness and offer our friends and family a chance to support us.
Totally agree. Yeah. I mean, once again, that same thing as like the campaign, you try to walk and roll, do something like it. I love how different communities, different groups kind of adapt. If it's like a barbecue type thing, you know, we've seen that, or you know, bring music to the walk and roll event, or maybe it's something like it, right? It kind of be unique. So all I know is that consistency is like the key, right? As long as you have it every year, keep trying to have it annually, people start to know it more. And then they kind of count on it, right? To like be there and that they would help and support that. And they wait for it every September. I have friends in my circle, you know, you can say, oh, that walk and roll is still happening in September, right? You know, it is becoming somewhat remembered that September represents that, those that know me, you know? So I think it does help. So last question, I guess, would be your involvement is key. We have other people that might be on the brink of wanting to be involved, but they're not sure, you know, like, how do I get there? Or maybe they need that push. So what would you say to those people?
I'd say, yeah, please definitely get involved in any way you can. And, you know, just if you're worried about time commitment, you just set your boundaries of what you can do. But any little help, even if it's just a little help for one event, it's helpful in terms of like the main kind of director's time, but just, I think it's like when I get an extra volunteer, a little bit of push, or someone like just help in any way, it re-inspires me. And it re-inspires the people that are carrying most of the weight to be like, okay, this matters to people. So yeah, get involved in any way you can. It's essentially a volunteer-run world in so many ways, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, volunteers are key. They like help it move forward, no question about it. So yeah, if you can't give your money, sometimes I say, well, give your talent, whatever you can do to kind of help. I agree. Just go for it. I like the idea of keeping the boundaries too. That was one advice that my neurologist did give me. He's like, I know you want to get involved. I know you want to do those things. But remember, like, your kids are only this age so long. Don't be super involved or you're missing those other things. So I get it. Yeah. So thanks for
really
yeah. Well, yeah, he has some good advice. But I appreciate all the advice you gave today. I love it. I love what you're doing. Kind of changing the way we think about FSHD and exercise, more impactful on our bodies. Push it. I love the term level up in there. Love it. So thanks, Priscilla. Enjoy the day. World FSHD Day. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a good day.
You too.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Well, this has been a great event. World FSHD Day as we draw it to a close, at least with this event. Thanks for being here on FSHD Straight Talk. Still love to hear some of your show ideas, and maybe you want to be a guest on the show, or maybe you have a friend that you want to refer to me. Love to get connected. Don't forget, email me, fshdradio@fshdsociety.org. Check out all the latest and greatest things happening in our community. And one of the good places to do it, not just on social media, with all the great groups that are out there, and some of those leaders we've talked to throughout this event, but also through fshdsociety.org. Kind of like the keywords, when I was going through these interviews, certain things kind of stood out. I made sure I jotted them down because I wanted to have a little bit of a wrap up to it all. Someone said, elevate awareness to elevate change. Beautifully put. That's what we have to do with a day like this. I think that coincides with someone else saying fear and your dreams can both happen. Your greatest fear and your greatest dreams, they both can actually happen, and it's okay. Push yourself. We have to be concerned about the psychological effect of the disease. We talk about the physical so much. We can't be short of what it does to us emotionally and how it affects us. When we had Priscilla on, she talked about, feeling down in the dumps and depressed a little bit and try to motivate herself to physically do some of that exercise, and made her shift. Words like relentless, a vision, leveling up, push ourselves a little bit. And you know what that means to you. It's not a comparison. It's not, well, this is a bodybuilder type person that has FSHD, so their arms or whatever are strong, but this part isn't, and so on and so forth. That's not it. There is ways you can level up in your own way and get involved. That might be part of that. And I think that's what this day calls for. It calls for the community of FSHD people, patients, families, etc. We continue to level up. Yes, always push more and get the awareness out to the world. The key part of this is World FSHD Day. It's affecting the world. It doesn't know, race, sex, anything. None of that. It affects everybody of all different ages across the globe. And that means we have to make it a global front to fight it, to change it, to add a treatment into our world. We need it. And I think we're on the brink. Fulcrum, Avidity are definitely getting ahead of this. I think they're onto something. I think we all know that. Well, we can't stop the support now. We can't stop awareness now. We're not there. We have to continue to push and strive farther, harder, and do what we have to do. So key in on those keywords, right? Elevate, relentless, vision, level it up. Let's all do that together. But thank you for joining us today on World FSHD Day. See you next time. Take care.